Final Fantasy XVI. Massive icon battles, interdimension fights, heartbreaking storylines, incredible combat system, and collecting soil.
This soil's not going to collect itself.
That's right. We're talking about the Final Fantasy XVI side quest today, and one of the most divisive aspects of the game at that. And while I'll admit, I don't think anyone actually bought this game to collect dirt, I do feel like the vast majority of the side quests have a purpose and there are plenty of reasons to complete them as you go. However, when calculating the time spent to do the side quest, it accounts for roughly 15 hours of the game, which is a lot. But I took the plunge and I completed every single minute of it, and that's what today's video is about. Do I regret doing 15 hours of side quests in Final Fantasy XVI? Now first off, I feel like there are two separate types of side quests in this game, ones that give you upgrades or items or quality of life improvements, and ones that give you more depth for the story. So let's discuss the upgrades and the items first, because those are the ones that are most justifiable for most players. If you watched any of the footage of the game thus far or know anything about fantasy games in general, you know that your sword is going to be your main weapon. These can easily be upgraded to more normal swords for the merchant and the blacksmith. However, if you want access to the most powerful swords and the most upgraded armor in the game, you're going to have to complete side quests to get them. While these most powerful weapons and armor aren't really necessary, they are really nice to have, especially when it comes to some of the S tier monsters on the hunter board or some of the later bosses in the game. They're excellent weapon choices. Like I said, you can do it fine without any of these special weapons, but if you want them, side quests are the way to go. Same thing goes for the potions and consumables. You start off with the ability to hold just a measly 4 potions and 3 high potions. Awful, at least for the late stages of the game if you never upgraded. And the only way to upgrade it? Side quest. You can upgrade not just the amount that you have, but also how much health they heal with each potion intake. So if you're just playing the game for the action and the battling, these side quests are a must to complete to make yourself more powerful. The same thing can also be said for unlocking the chocobo in the game. They are your literal transportation from one area to another if you aren't running, and the only way to unlock them? A side quest. And not only is riding the chocobo fun, it's also immensely useful when traveling into these areas when you're trying to just simply cover hundreds of yards at a time. So side quests of this caliber are 100% worth doing, and I feel are justifiable for most players wanting to finish the game. They don't make or break the experience, but a distinct reward that is felt nearly immediate is given to the player and can make the game much more fulfilling and easier, especially like I said in late game. But let's move into the more controversial side quests, the ones that don't really get a huge reward except for extra story elements. These can be somewhat of a mixed bag, but mostly positive and phenomenal, at least in my opinion. Yes, you do have some smaller ones where you're literally collecting items for recipes or finding missing scales or delivering items which seem inconsequential and busy work, but even these develop the personality of Clive and his kindness and his nature to help people. Let's take the on-balance side quest here regarding the missing scale that I mentioned a little bit earlier. The way Clive works with the children who have been accused of stealing the scales and ends up understanding their misdeed with just curiosity and then proceeds to teach them life lessons about learning in general. This is a heartwarming tale and shows us the true personality of Clive and his love for the humanity that he hopes to save. It just adds more depth to the motivation of our main character and for us to understand and experience these motivations as well instead of just simply reading about it or hearing about it. But those are just the smaller ones. Let's move on to the harder hitting ones. And yes, there are some spoilers here, but I'll try to keep them somewhat limited, but you have been warned at this point. The most talked about hard-hitting or emotional side quests early in the game are All Bark and Playthings. Both of these side quests showcase the horrors and sadness of the bear's status in the world around them. In Playthings, a small girl asks you to find her pet, and you are expecting the pet to be a cat or a dog, only to discover her pet was actually a human who is a bear. The small girl has forced the bear to display her magic so many times that the curse has overtaken her body and killed her completely, and you are forced to explain the cruel and horrible act that the little girl has done to her. This is a heartbreaking and emotional scene and sets the tone for what Sid and Clive are going to be fighting the entire game for. All Bark is in a similar vein and shows just how disposable the bears are to the humans around them. Both of these side quests are early in the game, and I feel they are placed there to grip the player into having reasons to complete more side quests as they go. They develop the story immensely and make for a much richer experience. Later on, side quests deal with the tragedy of losing family members and visiting graves for last wishes, to developing the love story narrative between Clive and Jill. One of the best scenes in the entire game is where Clive takes Jill to a flower garden, and it's all within the side quest called Priceless. Here, Clive remembers their childhood when they tried to run to a flower garden, and does the same for her as an adult to help her deal with the stress. We get more insight into their relationship, their plans for life after this war is over, and how Clive has always been there for her. It's a great emotional scene, and it sets up the ending of the game for even more emotional impact. Or mystery, depending on how you interpret the dialogue, but that's a different video for a different day. Regardless though, if you don't do the side quest, this emotional bond between him and Jill is not nearly as well developed. The same can be said for his bond with Joshua as well. This one is more evident in the core story, of course, but several side quests lend extra details of the brotherly bond. Honestly, the game is just much richer with these extra story elements. Which brings us back to the core question at hand. Do I regret completing 15 hours of side quests for those extra story bits? You probably already know the answer to this, but I don't regret it at all. I feel like if you are invested in the game and the world and the lore it has created, then the side quests only expand on that and make you love the story all that much more. While the side quest to get extra items and upgrades may be appealing to more casual fans, I think it's the story side quests that truly make the game shine as bright as it does. The only complaint I might have is sometimes I desperately want to know what would happen next in the core story, but I had a few hours of side quests to accomplish first. I'd get frustrated, but then after completing the side quest, the core story would have all that much more impact. So I'll leave it at this. If you're playing the game and you get to the side quest of all bark and play things, and they don't pull you in, then you're probably safe to just focus on the core story and combat of the game and move along without the side quest. However, if these early side quests pull you in, then I think you'll be captivated by the many future hours of side stories to come. Me personally, I did find nearly all 15 hours of the extra story to be nearly perfect, and if I'm playing through the game again, I'll probably go through all the side quests again just to rewatch some of these scenes. But what do you all think? Did you enjoy the side quests in Final Fantasy XVI? Were there too many for your liking? Do you feel like the game is too much of a departure from some of the other Final Fantasies? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And just go out there, find a great game to play. Just simply have a great rest of the day.